With the original
Yeah.
Bob Backlund matches, you ended up losing via DQ, count out, double DQ, no decisive finishes. That's par for the course, isn't it, for the building up of a big a big match? But
Yeah.
how
Yeah. We're going for that hour, you know. So,
so how would you go about preparing a Bob Backlund match? Or I know it's old school and you don't really talk and anything like that, but how do you prepare yourself, or what do you expect from a Backlund match that you wouldn't with somebody else?
well, you slow down, you know, and for portions, you know, you're in holes longer. You're in, you can't go 100 miles an hour for an hour. You know, you're longer in holes. You're taking time, selling holes, selling moves. You know, storm. You know, just stretching it out as you have to do with an hour. If you other times, you know, you go through. If the spot arises, it comes. You go right through it. You go into it. You don't. Sometimes you don't have to take it back down. But in that case, you would have to. You know, you build up to points and down and up and down. You know, you come to peaks and valleys where you had to do it, and you can't look for that peak right away. You know, you have to. You know, that peak comes a couple of times. Well, Roy Shires had a formula out out of San Francisco, how to run a match, how to diagram a match. It that the very first comeback when the baby face comes back, the biggest comeback of the night will be his very first one. That was Roy's philosophy, being that the heel goes in, get some fast heat, and you come back like a maniac at your first, and then you settle down in the match. You have a allotted number of high spots, and then you get to heat up again and go into the finish. So that was Roy's that was Roy's philosophy, and obviously it doesn't really hold through. Or if you're a champion and you've been there month after month, week after week, on TV and stuff, and you have that low profile, you have that grinding style. It doesn't make sense to go, come out right away, doing kip ups and cartwheels, and acting like the Superfly. If you're going in an hour. So you come in and you settle down, and you just try and get try and be serious and try to get the crowd to be serious with you.
Did you ever
Sell everything close quarters and everything, solid movement, solid arm lock, solid headlock, solid work.
did you ever gas out, or were you just experienced enough that you knew how to pace yourself?
No, I mean, yeah, I was used to I was in good. I was doing hours step tests and working out in those days. I was young and fun. I won't go to the rest
Yeah.
of it. Today.
Were you ever banned, and I'm saying this for a reason, were you ever banned from using a certain term to describe Bob in your interviews?
Howdy Doody. He didn't. I used it once, and then somebody mentioned that he did. He wasn't. He didn't like it. He wasn't. Well, he would prefer it was if it wasn't. That's all it took. Sure, you don't like it. I'm not gonna. Stick my finger up your nose. What for? To rile the. So I used it one time early on. We do dozens and dozens of interviews. So, something you just run dry after a while. So just boom, howdy doody pops into your head. You go with it, and somebody mentions he doesn't like it. Okay, so you just scratch it off the board. That's about it. He didn't care to. The one that was his only. That was about his only bitch. I think the howdy doody thing.
So what would you go after him on your interviews? What would be the thing, like the cutting line?
Oh, I think I would mostly gear the interviewer everything to how great I was, as opposed to well, I my philosophy in the business and stuff was to make make my opponent as great as possible. because when I'm going to beat him, or if I'm beating him or beating somebody, I'm beating somebody that's, way up there. Somebody, somebody worthy beating, somebody worthy, worthy, that you can get a defeat from, and you're really putting a notch in your gun. So I would go, most of, I don't think Doral, Pedro, maybe, you like the beautiful people, all your friends, same stuff, blah, blah, I'm going to come after you. And, after, well, Pedro and I had more of a heated relationship because Pedro is a more fiery character. And Pedro and I weren't doing hours. We're doing, 20, 30 minutes and or whatever and going through. But Bob and I, so I would, with that philosophy, I would more talk about myself and how good I was and how pretty I was and how handsome and how like a Ric Flair, limousines and jet planes and the what is it, Magic Mountain and all that other stuff. So you end up putting yourself over more than more than somebody because they know he's champion. You don't have to, so you just build him. He's built up, and you're not going to be able to really tear him down because he's still champion when the interview's over. So you just you just talk about. I think mostly I was just talking about myself. How great I was. How this and that, all the attributes and everything I contained.
So we'll go straight to the Madison Square Garden matches with Bob. And was it 2 or 3? Did you have a series of 2 or 3?
3.
3. So was it a regular match, the first one, the Texas Death
regular
match?
And something happened, and the second one we had we fought. Was a pull apart. We both lost our tempers and fought. And they just fought under the floor and back in the ring and everything else. And had to send the wrestlers out to pull us apart. Oh, maybe that was the first one. The second was the hour through, and the third one was the 2-hour time limit, or something like that. That would probably be the first one to pull apart, the second one the hour through, or maybe the second. I don't know. I don't remember
now. The Texas Death Match. Talk us through how do you do a Texas Death Match? Because isn't it sort of half a last man standing match? I don't think I've ever seen one, so you'll have to explain it to me.
Oh, every territory had their own rules, I think. Oh, God. Maybe it's the most falls in an hour or something like that.
It'll be an Ironman match, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure the stipulations of the Texas Death Match at the Garden was at the time. I think we ended up in a cage somewhere too, didn't we?
Yeah, Boston, I believe you ended up in a cage afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, because we worked, a lot with them, all over the place. So, it's hard to put in order the different things we did, to bring back the next week.
When was the time when the short arm scissors didn't go quite according to plan because you were leaning on him a bit too much?
Somewhere in the middle. After we worked, started working an arm, and he'd do it real good. He'd start to go, and then he wouldn't be able to get. He'd start to pick me up, and then he'd get me all the way up and put me on the turnbuckle and slap me or something. I'd take a bump.
I might have prompted you for the wrong story then. When was the time you sat on his balls?
Oh, we're working probably short arm scissors too, or it was just a thing. And that's where the point where I knew he trusted me. Had a lot of trust. I rolled up. Can you lay here for a second? Take it out. I'm like, sure, but yeah, I landed on one of my balls and it hurts. So,
I'll tell you what, right? So in 1981, in fact, just before I ask that, cage matches versus regular matches, are like gimmick matches like that easier to do because you've got more to work with, or not so much?
Oh, well, you got the momentum going in, you built for it, so the people are already there. they're already buying. You don't have to be selling that much. They're already going, and you have to keep a higher pace. You got to rev your engine, a little harder because you have to deliver, more seriously than you would, a normal match that you're building to an hour or building up more.
I'm really interested in when Bob Backlund faced the Iron Sheik, and the Iron Sheik beats Backlund, and it's the very, very, very famous finish where Sheiky's got Backlund in the camel clutch. Backlund refuses to tap out or submit or I quit or whatever it was back then because there was no tap out. And then Arnie Skolan throws in the towel. In your opinion, is that is he dominated by that finish, or is that protecting him? Because I can't quite work out myself.
That was just before he left, and I wasn't. I'd heard stories that he didn't want to, or it had to be a wrestler that was going to beat him. It had to be somebody with a. These are just things that I've read. I don't know as facts or anything else. That Arnold's throwing the towel and Bob declining it, is a good out. I would have done it probably another way, but it was a good. It didn't matter because the momentum flowed right into Hulk, and when Hulk showed up, bang! It didn't matter. Nothing mattered. Nothing mattered anymore.
You weren't in the territory at the time, but I'll ask it anyway. Apparently, Vince McMahon Jr. wanted to turn Bob Backlund heel in 1984 after losing to the Iron Sheik. Did you ever hear anything about that? Apparently, Vince wanted him to dye his hair.
Just what I've read. I know nothing. Know nothing as a fact. Just the hearsay and things that went down.
And obviously you weren't in the WWF, you were retired by this point. When Bob Backlund came back and became the crazy Mr. Backlund character around 94, did you realise that he had that in him? Like, because had he ever, said, watch this tonight, guys, doing an interview, and then that came out and then he dialed it back again and became the nice Mr. Bob Backlund again. Did you realise that was in him at all?
Well, no, because he'd never done that before. But he was a talented individual. So seeing him go, to see him go nuts. He was a professional wrestler. Hell, if you're not able to go insane, you're in the wrong business. So it was a change, but whether you bought it or not, it depends on you're following the way you follow Bob.
And I'll ask this one to finish it off before the Mr. Fuji story of the week. Where does Bob rank as far as your rivals, as for your talent, enjoyment in wrestling him, and as a champion face of a company?
To me, right up there. I've always said Dory Funk Jr., one of my favorite wrestlers in his style. He was a world champion. They all have their own style. Jack Briscoe had that left arm, that left arm coming out, the way the Briscoes do, to they're left-handed, and then Terry Funk was different. Dory Jr., Harley had that where he cocked that left up and threw that punch. The success I would suppose would be in the box office, where where they and the judgment of the how they performed. I spent a lot of time with Bob. I spent many matches and lots of time in the ring with him. So he would be right up there with my with my list of champions and everything else. He'd have to be. He made me a solid name, a solid individual in WWF and around the world after that. So different champions. Bruno was a different style champion. Pedro is forgotten as his almost forgotten as his type of champion time as champion. But that's a long story too that goes on of why he wasn't longer. Coming from Australia. But Jack, it have to be the guys I worked with the most. And Hulk, I worked with Hulk. Hulk was world champion when I worked with him. And then I had the misfortune of coming out of WrestleMania in Madison Square Garden, the first match after WrestleMania 1. Then starting with Hulk on that program. Oh my God. Half, 3/4 of a house after sellout after sellout after sellout, coming off of that extravaganza with Liberace and everybody in their house and their brother showing up, and coming up even with the great Hulk Hogan coming into a less than the spectacular Madison Square Garden. But we built it, to the end, and we built it back up. But all the champions and anybody across the ring is going to make your money. Is a favorite. Jimmy Snuka was one of my all time, and the different all the different territories.